and welcome to the SOCIALpreneur podcast. I am Allison, also known as blogger, influencer, absolutely Allie. I can't even talk. I'm supposed to be doing a podcast, but I am absolutely Allie. Welcome to the third episode. I'm excited that you all are joining us. So hopefully you listened to the past two episodes. If you have not, then definitely go back and listen to those. Last week we had Deborah Locker from Deborah Locker PR. She gave us some great tips and tricks about how to use a PR person and how to use PR for yourself and how you should use it if you are using social media and being an influencer, or if you have a business or a boutique. So that was a great episode. First episode, I was just talking about who I am and why I started this podcast, and some tips on how to be an influencer and what you can expect. Today, I am super excited because we have Jenna Ahern from Guardian Owl Digital. I've known Jenna for a while. I don't even kind of remember how we met, but I'm gonna let Jenna introduce herself, and then we'll talk about a little bit about what she does. I know she does a lot with SEO. So if you're in that social media field, if you're in that blogger field, or if you have a business or brand, social media is so key. And I know that people want to know what that is. Some people I remember ask what that term is. So if you can even explain that. So Jenna, I'm happy to have you. Can you tell us just a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Absolutely. So again, thank you for that introduction, and thank you for having me. This is amazing. I'm so happy to be here. Yeah. I'm Jenna Ahern. I'm the CEO and founder of Guardian Owl Digital, and we are a digital agency specializing in digital visibility on search engines, which social media, oftentimes people don't understand that is a search engine. And so we help businesses through honest communication, innovative search engine solutions, and just transparency in the data that they're not only collecting, but then also repurposing to optimize their campaigns, whether it's SEO or paid media moving forward.
So how long have you been in business, and why? What interested you about this to start this business of SEO and everything?
Well, like many business owners, my journey was and continues to be a zigzag. And so I grew up in the automotive industry. And so I cut my teeth there. And through the years, I just always got pulled towards digital marketing. And back in 2011, 2012, Google Ads were just starting to become real. And I remember getting thrown out of a dealership one time because they thought that I was, selling spam online. And, so it's funny looking back on those stories in the journey, because that's how far we've come today, where, ads on Google were spam and the internet was, a trend. And here we are on a podcast forum through Zoom. So this is, it's fun looking back, but cutting my teeth in automotive led me to work with a lot of great organizations. And eventually, like I said, digital just kept pulling me. And there was a company in Raleigh, North Carolina called NetSertive. And they were at the time a startup company who was a premier partner with Google and just hit the ground running. And I watched them and saw that there was an opportunity to apply for a position with them. And so completely underqualified, didn't know anything about Google, had no idea what running ads meant. And someone took a chance on me and gave me the opportunity to go into a brand new territory and sell digital marketing. And so through NetSertive, I was able to not only get AdWords and analytics certified, I was selling products, Google's suite of different advertising products, as well as deepening my understanding of what it looked like to manage the campaigns myself. And so through that opportunity, Cox Automotive came knocking. And if you're in the automotive industry, Cox is huge. They kind of run the show, and I couldn't turn down that opportunity that approached me. And so I then gained experience in third-party search engines like AutoTrader and Kelly Blue Book. You may have used them before. And so, behind the scenes, there's a bunch of different algorithms on those platforms that, showcase vehicles over others. And so learning and gaining experience in that, I realized, okay, I may be able to, help businesses in their online transformation. I had people reaching out to me just saying, hey, can you, just here's $250. Can you just run this campaign for a weekend? Or, hey, I'll pay you this. And, can you turn on this for me? And I'm like, okay, I have this skill. I can run and manage my own ads, and I have all the certifications to do so. So I asked Cox Automotive at the time, and they said, sure, why not? As long as you don't touch the automotive space. And so I did that. And for 3 years, I just side hustled. And in the mornings before going to work on my full-time job, and at night, I would meet business owners in coffee shops, on conference calls. And I remember having team meetings at 9 p.m. at night and, running like crazy just to really help serve small to medium-sized businesses in the digital arena. And I don't know how it happened. It snowballed. And in 2016, I was burning the candle at both ends. And I said, okay, I've got to take this leap of faith. And it truly was that. I come from a single parent household. I don't have security blankets. I've provided for myself, since 18. And so for me, it really, really was, okay, how long can I do this until something's got to give. And so in 2016, I made that leap, went full time into the business. And we doubled in just the first 6 months, and, it's kind of continued to snowball, and that's how it came to life.
You are an inspiration to anybody that's in the social media field or any socialpreneur that is trying to be a business owner and how to take it from point A to point B. Like you said, you literally started from just figuring out what AdWords were to building this great business. If somebody came to you and asked, hey, Jenna, I only have a small budget. What should I do with it in order to grow my business with SEO or work with you? What would you tell them?
So I'm fortunately at the point where small budgets, a lot of times our agency can't service them to the best of our ability. And I, for instance, just had amazing powerhouse duo of females that are in the wedding industry. And they said, hey, I have $350. What would you do? And so I always look at that. And what I always recommend is, okay, well, what are you trying to achieve for that $350? Is it your spend for the entire month, or are you willing to run a campaign for a week with that budget? And so, sometimes it's, well, no, that's my whole month, or, okay, I can, if we run it for a week and it doesn't work, what next? And I'm like, well, the good news is, you have everything is a learning experience at that point. So you take that $350 or $500, whatever that chunk of change looks like. And, you prioritize, okay, here's Pinterest. This completely aligns with, for instance, that was a wedding agency, and they help brides. And so they wanted to target brides in the Kentucky area who are just researching, wedding planner, wedding photography. So pick the platform that you feel like has the best opportunity to convert at that moment. A few years ago, I would have said, maybe Facebook, it was the best place for them. Now, maybe Pinterest is actually a better investment. And so I think it's experimenting and being okay with that, because even if you don't get anything from that spend or that campaign, you got the learning aspect of it. And now you can rinse, wash, repeat, optimize, and then invest more. And it truly is a experiment. And if you are a born entrepreneur, you'll love it, because you're either like, oh, I'm out that money, but I learned this. And oh my gosh, I discovered this, holy crap, I can't wait till the next one. or you're like, oh my gosh, it worked. I got something from it. And I'll tell you, I've been there. I've blown things. I have juggled too much. I've watched campaigns fall. I've turned around, and every time it's always a learning opportunity and a great, great investment, always.
If somebody didn't know anything about SEO, Google AdWords, all of the above, and they wanted to start a business or blog or whatever, what would be your best advice to tell them? Would you tell them, hey, look me up, and I can help you? Or what would you tell them?
I mean, it's perspective, right? I mean, everybody's circumstance is different, every single one. And so I do think just understanding what they're trying to achieve, what their story is the first place that I would start. And so I hate, well, I shouldn't say I hate, I try to stray away from giving advice and make it a blanket statement, because I know when I was, like I said, running around working like crazy, I'm like, I don't have $1,500 to give this a month. I don't have that extra 2 hours because I'm busting my butt getting that sale and not investing it into, a blog. And so I think, it really depends on perspective and where you are. But if you have the opportunity to barter or exchange services, maybe for some sweat equity, I think that that's a great place to start. So, what is your skill set? For me, it may have looked like, hey, I'll run your Google ads. Can you spend 2 hours a week writing this blog content for me? Right. Or I will help you optimize this each month. Can you do this for me? And I did a lot of trading and just quite frankly, networking and saying, hey, we can mutually benefit from one another. And I still do that today. I mean, I think that that's always a great place to start.
Such good advice for people that are trying to get their feet wet with this. What's the difference that you've seen for people? Because I know for a long time we didn't have Google AdWords. People didn't know what SEO were. What's the difference that you see from then and to now? And maybe what's the benefit of using SEO, Google AdWords, and all of that?
So let me just preface this with Google changes a lot. And coronavirus has certainly expedited the changes that have happened with SEO, which is search engine optimization. And really, it's a buzzword. And truly what it means is just, how is your website appearing for the search terms that someone would use to find your site. And so, I mean, Allie, 5 years ago, you used to be able to put in the keywords you wanted in the back end of your website. And all of a sudden in 6 months, we could get that site ranking. That doesn't happen anymore. That is over. The era is over. Trust me, I stomped and kicked and screamed, but you can't do that anymore. And so now, there's a lot of nuances and almost a periodic table of elements that goes into SEO. And so I think where I would recommend starting if someone wanted to do that is first, do you have a website? What is that? Is it a Facebook page? Is it a Wix website? Do you have a splash page? Where are you starting from? Because I know I sold my first, client without a website. So I'm not saying you need that to get started, but when you're at that stage, I think you've got to evaluate, how much am I willing to put in this engine? And I love cars. So, are you going to put the same investment in a Ford Focus as maybe your Ferrari? Probably not, right? We're talking on two different levels. So if you're on a, very, very startup friendly website, like maybe a Wix, maybe a Squarespace, or maybe you're just on a WordPress blog platform, you really just want to make sure that your content is there and have Google Analytics installed on the back end of that site so that you can measure, are you getting users? Are people reading this? Is this effort worth it? And I think you start there. And, once you can then understand how people are navigating to your website, whatever that looks like, then I think you can make further advancements in SEO, which would, include upgrading probably the website in general, making sure you're continually adding pages to your site. That's what Google wants to see when they come and look at your website each month, just like a new visitor word. Yep. Are you updating your content? And I'm talking like posts from years ago. So you can go back. None of your content is ever outdated. You can go back and you can update it. And so if it said, for instance, social hacks in 2018, just go back through and say social hacks updated for 2020, and then go through and update your content. So I think that, it's one step at a time, and you never run a marathon, just immediately. You have to start somewhere, and you have to just start by running that first mile. And so that's where, depending on where your audience is, that's the best place to start.
That was amazing. Like, if anybody takes anything from this podcast, that's probably it. So one more question. How does this world of Google Ads, SEO, all the fancy words that you use, how does that coincide with social media, Instagram, Facebook? How does that work together, and does it work together?
Yes, it certainly works together. So for instance, if you publish a blog on your site, you want, if you don't have a lot of users, you need other platforms that are like ancillary extensions of your website. And so social media, I include, everything from Pinterest, Instagram, Facebook, Twitch right now is huge. TikTok is huge. So you have all these platforms. I would look at what's the best platform, like what's your priority platforms. And for me, those have changed over the time. For me, it used to be LinkedIn, or it used to be Instagram. Now I'm leaning into LinkedIn. And, YouTube is, to me, another channel that is a big search engine. So how can you repurpose that blog post and maybe put audio to it and upload that MP4 to YouTube with, just a plain, thumbnail that represents your brand. And so all of these channels, Google and search engines alike, when they look at your site, they are then able to say, oh, wow, they have an Instagram. Let me go check it out. And same for all the other social platforms. One thing, and you talk about this, Allie, but alt text, it used to be just for websites, but actually on social media, Google now crawls social media platforms. So it could potentially serve up an image from your Instagram when somebody's searching for, social entrepreneur Louisville. And so you want to make sure that across the board, you're putting in alt text for all of your creative and images so that it can help you show up on search engines like Google and amplify everything that you're doing on the website.
And the funny thing that you said that I talk about this, you actually told me about alt text. I had no clue what that was. You actually told me about it one day randomly, and ever since then I've been using it and telling people about it. So I actually got that from you. So
oh my gosh, well, no, I'm like, so it is amazing. People are like, oh, like, duh, and it's just one of those things that, I'm in SEO, so I think about it constantly. And, when that started to be, it started to really take off on the Google end, it was very clear that you needed to do that across the board. So anytime, LinkedIn, Pinterest, Instagram, Facebook, you name it.
So Jenna, tell people where they can find you.
So, well, our website is guardianowldigital.com. Certainly go there. You can contact our team and myself through our website. My handle on Instagram is Jenna_Ahern, Ahern. And you can look up my name on LinkedIn. But Guardian Owl Digital, if you look up just that, you should be able to find me.
Right. So everybody, if you are looking for an SEO expert, a Google AdWord expert, Jenna is your girl. Definitely look her up, check her out, give her a follow. Jenna, thank you so much for being on the Socialpreneur podcast. And I look forward to seeing everything that you get into. I know that there's some good stuff coming, and I'm excited to see all the new things that Guardian Al does, and also all the good things that are crazy stuff that Google and anything else comes up with that you're going to get your hand into. And as far as the socialpreneur people, or as I call you all, maybe socialites, let me know who you all want to see and who you all want me to interview and what you all want to learn, especially for the socialpreneur world. We're here to help you. And I learned a lot of things from having these people on, especially I just learned a bunch of stuff from Jenna that I did not even know that I need to be using. So definitely email me at Allie@absolutelyallie.com and give me some suggestions. Even if you all have tips or anything, just send them to me and I will shout you all out and definitely put your tip out there. So thank you all for joining us on this podcast, and we will see you next time.